General Krexbar limped into the Imperial War Council chambers, his scarred exoskeleton clicking against the polished floor. 3 of his 6 limbs bore the permanent damage from battles across the galaxy, and his left optical sensor had been replaced with a crude cybernetic implant after the siege of Altair Prime. Among the pristine, unmarked commanders seated around the obsidian table, he looked like a relic from another age. "Ah, the old war beast arrives," sneered Admiral Fexera, her pristine golden uniform gleaming under the chamber's bioluminescent lighting. "We were just discussing the Earth annexation. A simple operation, their military technology is centuries behind ours." Krexbar settled into his chair with visible effort, his battle-worn frame a stark contrast to the younger officers who had risen through political maneuvering rather than combat experience. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly, his gravelly voice cutting through their confident chatter. Supreme Marshal Vothran, resplendent in ceremonial armor that had never seen actual warfare, activated the holographic display. Earth appeared in miniature, rotating slowly above the table. "Observe, veteran. A single planet, no faster than light capability, chemical-based weaponry, fractured into hundreds of competing nations. We've conquered systems with 10 times their technological advancement. Have you studied their history?" Krexvar asked, his mechanical eye whirring as it focused on the display. "Have you read their military records?" "What is there to study?" laughed Commander Zethys, a young Altarian whose species had surrendered after a single orbital bombardment. "They fight with metal projectiles and explosive devices. Their largest wars involved maybe a few million soldiers. We field fleets of billions." Krexvar's scarred mandibles clicked, a sound the others didn't recognize as bitter amusement. "I've fought across 17 sectors. I've seen species with energy shields that could deflect our plasma cannons, warriors with personal force fields, entire civilizations that had mastered matter manipulation. You know what they all had in common?" The room fell silent, more from protocol than genuine interest. They fought logically. Strategically. When outmatched, they surrendered. When faced with overwhelming force, they negotiated. When their worlds burned, they accepted defeat. Krexvar's good eye fixed on each officer in turn. Humans don't do any of those things. Admiral Fexera's fins fluttered with dismissive irritation. "Elaborate, old one, if you must." "I was part of the advanced scout missions," Krexvar continued, accessing a neural implant that projected images directly into the air. "We infiltrated their global information networks, studied their entertainment media, analyzed their historical records. What we found should have ended the invasion before it began. The projection showed scenes from human history. Ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern warfare. But something about the images seemed to disturb even the most arrogant officers. Look at these numbers, Krexvar said, highlighting data streams. The Battle of Stalingrad, humans fighting in temperatures that would kill most species, eating leather and would bark, continuing to resist for months while their city turned to rubble around them. Iwo Jima, defenders fighting to literally the last soldier rather than surrender, even when defeat was mathematically certain. Primitive savagery, Marshal Vothran dismissed. We've evolved beyond such base instincts. Have we? Krexvar's cybernetic eye glowed brighter. When the crystalline hegemony invaded our homeworld, how long did our capital hold out? The uncomfortable silence stretched for several seconds before Admiral Fexera muttered, 18 hours. When the Void Fleet surrounded Altair Prime, Commander Zethys, how long before your peoples surrender? Zethys' gills fluttered nervously. 6 hours. But that was strategic. The humans have a saying, Krexvar interrupted, projecting text in their angular script. Death before dishonor. But that's not the terrifying part. The terrifying part is this one: if you're going through hell, keep going. He changed the display to show more recent human conflicts. Urban warfare in destroyed cities, soldiers advancing through impossible odds, humans continuing to fight with improvised weapons when their technology failed. They have a cultural concept called last stands, Krexvar explained. Entire mythologies built around dying rather than yielding. The Battle of Thermopylae, the Alamo, Rorke's Drift, the Warsaw Ghetto. Defeats, all of them, but defeats that cost their enemies so dearly that they became victories in the long term.
Mythology and propaganda, scoffed Marshal Vothran.
Our psychological warfare division will break their morale within days. Krexvar's laugh was like grinding metal. Their children play games about fighting impossible odds. Their entertainment celebrates defeat if it's sufficiently heroic. Their religions promise rewards for dying in battle. Marshal, we're not just invading a planet, we're attacking a species that has spent its entire evolutionary history preparing for this exact scenario. The projection shifted to show human military doctrine. Look at their tactical manuals. Guerrilla warfare, asymmetric conflict, total war. Concepts most civilized species abandon once they achieve planetary unity. Humans refined them. Admiral Thexera's confidence was visibly wavering. But surely their governments will negotiate, their governments will fall, Krexvar said bluntly. And that's when the real war begins. Every human adult is trained in basic combat. They have more weapons per capita than most military bases. Their civilian infrastructure can be converted to weapons production. And when their armies are defeated, their cities occupied, their leaders killed. He paused, his mechanical eye focusing on each officer. That's when they become dangerous. You're being absurd, Marshal Vothran said, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. No species can maintain resistance indefinitely. Can't they? Krexvar pulled up more data. The French resistance, the Afghan Mujahideen, the Vietnamese guerrillas. Humans fighting occupying forces for decades, passing resistance techniques down through generations. And that's when they were fighting other humans with similar technology. The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Commander Zephyrs finally spoke, his voice smaller than before. What are you suggesting, General? I'm suggesting we find another species to conquer, Krexvar said simply. The Helix Confederation has resources, the Deneb Collective has strategic value, the Outer Rim worlds have raw materials. All of them will surrender after a proper show of force. And if the High Command has already committed to the Earth operation? Admiral Thexera asked. Krexvar stood slowly, his damaged limbs protesting. At the chamber door, he turned back to face the assembled officers. Then I suggest you prepare for the kind of war we've never fought before. Against an enemy that doesn't know how to quit, doesn't understand the concept of acceptable losses, and considers dying for their cause the highest honor. He paused, his scarred face grim with certainty. And when this goes wrong, and it will go wrong, remember that a broken old veteran tried to warn you. The door sealed behind him with a soft hiss, leaving the War Council in uncomfortable silence, staring at the slowly rotating image of Earth. 3 months later, the first Imperial fleet entered Earth's solar system. 2 weeks after that, General Krexvar received a personal message from the front lines: send reinforcements. Send more ships. Send everything. The humans are fighting like demons, and they're teaching our own tactics to their children. But by then, it was already too late to listen.